Good afternoon, everyone back home. We're sat again outside the Basilica Roman Catholic Church in Washington, D.C. And I've got the lovely Angela here with me. And she's going to talk a little bit about which country she's come to represent for the coalition here in Washington and what she's been doing, which is quite different to everyone else, I believe, within the group, because she's gone into, sort of the actual content and the books and the things that are in schools and libraries and the law surrounding it. So, yeah, if you want to introduce yourself and where you come from and what you've been doing.
My name is Angela Rojas. I'm from Adelaide, South Australia. So for the past few years, I've been challenging the sexually explicit books in libraries, and I started with a deputation. I spoke in 2 different councils where I presented the books. I gave out handouts to mayor and councillors showcasing the images in the books, and I started this journey just as a concerned mum. And after I gave my deputation, I was asked not to show the images because councillors might find them offensive and they needed to feel safe, which is ridiculous. But I was able to negotiate and allow censored and uncensored versions of the handouts for the mayor and councillors. I wrote to the public library services, took even a couple of books to the police station, because there was one book from a graphic novel series that had bestiality in it and depictions of sexual violence in the comic book series. So I took it to the police station. He didn't know what to do. I went to Consumer and Business Affairs. They didn't know what to do. I called the classification board. They said to contact the licensing enforcement branch, which is a branch of the South Australian Police. And I contacted the officer in charge, and he referred me back to my local council. So no one was willing to do anything. And then I went through a process where I took one book for classification, and I applied for a fee waiver as a general public to get this book classified, and the classification board denied my fee waiver. I paid $790 to get this book classified, and the classification board decided that that book should become unrestricted to minors. Now, that book was Let's Talk About It, The Teen's Guide to Getting It On. And I don't know, the book's quite popular, but that goes into full penetrational intercourse. It gives instruction with nudity, with sexual arousal depicted, on how to masturbate and everything. And it has depictions on sex toys and all
pornographic, basically.
It's porn. And I met with, after all that, I met with a senator, and he, sitting with a senator and saying and showing him a pornographic book, it was just an unusual type of meeting that you have. And he said, yes, this is definitely porn. And he questions the classification board. He didn't get very far. But because I went through that process, the classification office sent me an email invitation to become a classifier for film and games. They probably just sent out a whole bunch of emails to production people. They probably didn't realise they were sending me an invitation.
I wouldn't have thought so.
So I took that window of opportunity. It didn't cost me anything. I've never worked in the industry. I've never studied classification law, and I got a 90% pass rate needed to become a classifier for film and games. So I've been using that because books don't get classified, and every country has their own classification laws, but most Western countries have similar ratings when it comes to film and games. What I found is, if these books were in documentary or in a film, they would be classified under film classification, and many of those books, like the book that depict sexually aroused penis, under nudity, it would be R-rated. It doesn't matter if it looks cartoony or not, it would be R-rated. No mitigation factors would apply, which means any factors that would normally lower the impact or the rating, like educational merit or scientific merit or stylization, they do not apply. It will be R-rated. So these books have MA to R-rated content in some of these books, under the guise of education. And what we find, and then I started to look at the teacher resources. So we found a book in there that was published by New South Wales Planned Parenthood, of course, and it goes into good sex versus bad sex and the bad sex went into concepts like bestiality, not bestiality, it went into rape, incest, and pedophilia. But they didn't call it those things. It said, under the bad sex, it said, there's an image of a man touching a boy between his legs, and it says, the man is rubbing the boy's penis. The boy is scared. He doesn't like it. So that's what
that's quite dangerous from a grooming. So,
and that's the type of wording. It was very
they were clever with that. Then how they've worded it.
There they worded it, but it was worded in a way for a younger audience. I mean, anyway. So I tried to challenge that through the classification, not getting very far with them because to them it's educational on safety.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that. Yes. Then that's how
so that's how they're guising everything under safety.
Yeah,
but it would never be any classification when it comes to film and games. Any depictions and descriptions of sexual activity involving minors would be refused classification.
So this is essentially then how they're managing to get jump through these hoops. Then is putting them in the books.
They're putting it in the books, but they're not supposed to depict it with the wording. There's a way where there's a difference between implied and stimulated. So if it's implied, like we all seen that movie Sound of Freedom, or some people might have seen it.
Oh right, yeah.
There's sexual activity involving minors. You don't see the child sexual abuse. It's behind closed doors.
But you know that it's
that's
been
implied.
Yeah.
Or if there was a sex scene that happened, but you don't see it, and a couple says we slept together.
Yeah.
That's implied.
Yeah.
When there's an actual depiction of a sex scene, even a still image, and this is what happens in video games.
Because it's pornography, regardless of where it.
Well, that's it. Well, there's so. In the training program, I took a screenshot of sex and nudity scenes, because there are video games that have sex and nudity in them.
Yeah.
And there was a still image of a sex scene. You don't see all the nudity. There's bedding around the person. You only see the back. It's not very detailed. And it got an M rating just on that still image of a sex scene. And these books have sexual positions.
Just for the viewers, what's an M rating?
An M rating is an 15, recommended for persons 15 and older. But if it was MA, it would be elongated, be full nudity. M is a bit more unrestricted, but MA is more restricted in some other countries. You would call it a legal restriction. And then R rated is really pornographic.
Yeah.
But so, and then books, and you're supposed to also when you classify film and games, you also classify any on-screen text.
Yes, text is important as well.
Text is important in film and games. They classify, so if there's coarse language, you classify the coarse language even if it's written in text or subtitles.
Yeah.
But that's what books are. Books are text and still images.
Yeah.
So
you're having a bit of a battle with this whole thing then. We're being passed from pillar to post and everywhere else in between, trying to show people that actually all of this stuff is I'd say X-rated, R-rated, whatever you want to...
Well, it depends on different books have different... if they were treated film and games, obviously each book would be slightly different.
Yeah.
But a lot of these pornographic books or explicit books that are in middle school and higher, definitely, or just in the libraries, in the public libraries in general, they would sit around the mature audiences to adults only type content. And that would be fairly similar. And then people ask me, okay, what about the LGBT or the rainbow books? It depends what it is. If there are books that go into concepts like the trans agenda, think about that you got surgical and medical, and then you've got medications, you got mental health or suicidal themes. When you look at all of those themes combined, if you look at a film or TV documentary, they would put a warning, especially on human reproduction, on surgical, medical, and it would say this is recommended for mature audiences because under themes, because of the medical or suicidal or whatever the themes are.
But under those brackets, they throw those in the teen section of a library, don't
or even
they?
the children's section.
Yeah.
So in South Australia, I've been petitioning, and we're the only state that has to do a paper petition for Parliament. Every other state can do it electronically.
Wow, really?
It's
I thought they were a thing of the past.
No, so I need 10,000 signatures, and I can take my time getting that.
You don't have a deadline for that?
I don't have a deadline,
right,
which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I've got over 5,000 signatures.
Brilliant.
And as I've been campaigning, I've been showcasing some of these books. And there was one book that we found that was a Premier's Reading Challenge book. So our state's run by Premier. In 2016, it was added to this Premier's Reading Challenge list. Now, this challenge is in schools to encourage students to read X amount of books per year, and you receive these medallions and rewards.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So they categorise, reception to year 2, year 3 and 4 and so forth, up until year 9 and 10. There was one book called The Amazing True Story of How Babies Are Made for reception to year 2. It wasn't part of the curriculum, but part of the reading challenge. And this book went into full penetrational intercourse with images and that's 5 to 7 years old.
Parents have no idea this is
They had no idea because it was in the schools. It wasn't, they do the reading challenge with their classroom and their teachers. And there's a number of books, they don't have to pick those particular ones. So I borrowed this book and I showed it around with all my talks. And it was deleted from the Premier's Reading Challenge book and not reading list. And all I had to do was expose the book.
So you got that taken
out of the schools.
Oh, brilliant. That's a positive from it all.
That was a positive. And then the books that I was talking about earlier about they had a depiction of bestiality and sexual violence. So that was a book series called The Boys. There's a Netflix adaptation, which is lifelike. It's not really an educational thing, but there's a comic book series. So this book sat in the comic book areas, in the graphic novels areas, right next to your Superman and your Batman comic books on the same shelving. And it had, I think in the TV series, the bestiality is implied, it's never shown, because it would never be allowed in the film, but it was shown in here. And what we did was, it was never classified. It sat on the shelves so many years, unrestricted, where kids could easily pick them up. And between myself and another person from Queensland, we tried to get enforcement. South Australia law enforcement did nothing to refer for classification, but I was able to, but Bernard Gaynor from Queensland was able to get enforcement there to get it classified, the series. So 6 books in the series were classified. 3 of them came back R-rated, category 1, which is on par with a pornographic adult magazine that have to be wrapped and sealed.
And just think of that for a minute, guys. That's a child being able to just come and grab that off a shelf. It's crazy. Well, when we get home, when you and I get home back to our countries, we will do, if that's okay with you, Angela, we'll do a much longer podcast, and we can go right into the details of all of this, really go into it. So, because I know that parents just haven't got a clue about it. So if you would do that with me, that would be wonderful. Awesome. And if you can just give a warning or any last words for the viewers before we finish this.
Before I finish off, I'll just say I got rid of all of the series of The Boys across all of South Australia.
Oh, well done. Well done. That's amazing. Brilliant.
Well,
some children see.
The only thing I would say is go to your children's school, go to your public library, and look at the books. And if you find anything you're concerned with, go to your local member, whether it's your councillor, your mayor, or your member of parliament, whoever that is. Bring up your concerns, write the letters, CC people into it. But if you're going to confront your school board or your gather some parents, go with a group.
Go armed.
Don't go by yourself. And each country has their own law in regards not just to the books. When it comes to education, you have the right to withdraw your child from the experience of it. And you can do that in writing, and many countries have their own laws, but it's not against the law to withdraw your own child from the experience. But do that as a group. Band together as parents. Going by yourself can be very confronting.
Yeah, and they can kind of pick you off one by one.
They can, so band together as a group. That would be my advice.
Oh, thank you so much, Angela. It's been absolutely lovely meeting you and speaking to you. And we'll catch up when we're both home.
We can go through a lot more. We can take a deep dive into why
we can do
these
a bit of screen sharing and show us some of the stuff. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Angela. Thank you. Bye.